Hydra is one of the most profitable, soloable bosses in the game, pulling in an average over 4.5 mil GP an hour. It's actually a pretty easy boss to learn, even compared to something like Vorkath. Hydra is basically Vorkath with the addition of valuable rare drops. You will easily make 3 mil GP an hour even without finding any uniques. Having a solid understanding of the Hydra's mechanics before you attempt him will make getting him down consistently a walk in the park. Hydra has incredibly high requirements, 95 Slayer, and a Hydra task from Konar, as only Konar can assign Hydras for a start. I recommend having at least 90 plus ranged, as this will dramatically increase your DPS over lower levels. A high prayer level with Rigor unlocked will also dramatically increase your DPS. Having the Kurend Elite Diary complete will also improve your trip length, as you can stop worrying about the floor's heat damage and wear devout boots. I would recommend getting at least the Hard Diary completed for the teleport to the mountain, although this will only provide you with 3 daily teleports. A high magic and defense level can also help reduce incoming damage, although once you have a good handle on the fight, you'll be negating all damage except for the first hit of the fight. For gear, I bring a Slayer helmet, as you will always be on task. This makes Void a terrible choice. A twisted bow with dragon arrows is the best option for Hydra, and will get you an extra 2 kills an hour on average over Blowpipe for a total of 27. Blowpipe is slightly less DPS, but has a lot more supply cost. The Dragon Hunter's crossbow also works against Hydra, but because of how low his defense is, Blowpipe during certain parts of the fight out DPS the crossbow against Hydra. You can bring the crossbow as a switch if you have one with Pipe. At its best, it is a 6.5% DPS increase over Pipe if your Ruby bolts can hit 100. If using Amethyst darts, you want to switch back to your Pipe when he has 22% HP remaining or 240 HP remaining. With Dragon Darts, switch at 38% HP or 420 HP remaining. Dragon Darts only gain 1 max hit against Hydra, so Amethyst darts are the more profitable choice. Dragon Darts do make sense if you want to get pet faster. Don't bother with the crossbow if you have a twisted bow, it is always worse DPS. As Hydra has incredibly low defense, you mainly want to prioritize prayer bonus. I bring a Necklace of Anguish, Ring of the Gods, a Ring of Suffering is also acceptable. Crystal Armor is the best option for armor as it provides 2 extra prayer bonus over other options and uses barely any charges as it only takes a charge if you take damage. Blessed D'Hide or Armadale Armor are also perfectly acceptable. Rada's Blessing, if you're bringing a T-Bow or DHCB, make sure you keep this in your inventory to teleport to the mountain. And Devout Boots. Blessed D'Hide Boots are also more than acceptable. If you do not have the diaries complete, your next best boot option is Brimstone Boots. I also often see people take Bowfoot of Hydra. It's 8% worse DPS than Pipe, even with Crystal Armor, so I would never bother bringing that. For gloves, any God Bracers are best here for their prayer bonus. For cape, a max cape is best in slot if you have one, for its various benefits and prayer bonus, as the assembler does not give a max hit. The next best option is a ranged cape for its prayer bonus. If you don't have this either, an assembler is perfectly acceptable. For inventory, this is going to vary quite a bit depending on your skill level. I take an Antidote ++ and 3 Divine Ranging Potions. I take my rune pouch with Elk runes and an extra slot for rune drops. I typically just keep this stocked with blood runes in the 3rd slot, but the boss has multiple valuable rune drops. I wouldn't recommend trying to bring Thralls with an Explorer's Ring 4, as you will run out of Alks long before even a single task is complete. Hydra drops a ton of Alkables. More prayer potions usually means you can stay there longer, but more food gives you some leeway on mistakes. I usually take 11 22 HP food and 12 prayer potions. But if you find you're running out of food or running out of potions before food, you will want to shake up the quantities of each. You will take a small amount of guaranteed damage no matter how good you are, so I would take at least 4 22 HP food if you are very consistent. You can also take a Bone Crusher necklace in your inventory for extra prayer as a switch at the end of the kill. Jagex removed the delay before it could award prayer points a while back, so now you can just switch to it after you deal the killing blow. Hydra Bones are worth 4 prayer points, and because Hydra drops 2 of them, that's 8 prayer points refunded per kill. Every 17 kills with the Bone Crusher necklace switch is equal to 1 super restore and 99 prayer with a Holy Wrench, so it definitely does make a big difference in your trip consistency. Hydra is located in the Karulam Slayer dungeon. The fastest way to get there is by teleporting with Rada's Blessing. If you do not have this unlocked, the next best option is Fairy Ring code CIR and climbing up the cliffside nearby. Inside the dungeon, if you have 88 agility, you can take the pipe straight to Hydra. This is not any faster, but it lets you avoid walking through the nearby Hydras and taking some damage. If you don't have this, just run straight by the Hydras to get there as well. Once you pass the rock before the entrance to Hydra, you will be in your own personal instance. Because the boss is instanced, try to pick the lowest ping world you can find, as it will make various skips in the fight much easier. Like with most instanced bosses, anything dropped on the floor of this fight will stay there for over 30 minutes instead of the standard 2 minutes. This is especially helpful with Hydra because he will often drop supplies, allowing you to keep extra food and potions on the ground. Let's give a rundown of his attacks. Hydra has 2 regular attacks, magic and ranged. Hydra will attack you with either magic or ranged for 3 attacks, and then swap to the other style. If he attacks 3 times in a row with ranged, for example, the next 3 attacks are going to be magic, vice versa. Special attacks are ignored in this rotation completely. Jagex added an animation swap for when Hydra changes attack styles not too long ago, which really makes this less annoying and means you don't necessarily need to count attacks anymore. You do still need to know if Hydra is on his 3rd attack after the fire phase ends, so I'd recommend trying to keep count when at that point in the fight. Make sure you don't AFK too hard and miss the animation as well. Hydra can mess you up if you don't pray properly. Hydra also has 3 different special attacks, corresponding to each phase of the fight. These special attacks are used after his first 3 attacks in a phase, and then should the phase last long enough, again after 9 more attacks. This not only pertains to his poison special, but also his lightning and fire special attacks. This counter is reset after a phase ends. Typically, your DPS is high enough you will only ever see a single special attack each phase. You are safe to walk under Hydra, as he has no stomp or melee attack like most other bosses. For the first and last phase, where Hydra is green or black, he will use a poison attack. This will shoot poison either in one tile or in a shotgun spread randomly around you. Make sure to move a couple tiles away when this attack comes out to avoid the guaranteed splotch of poison that will fall where you are standing. This attack is why we bring an Antidote plus potion. The second special attack is used on the second phase, where Hydra is blue. Hydra will shoot out 4 electrical tornadoes that will chase after you. Should these hit you, they will deal about 10 damage and freeze you in place. The third special attack is used on the 3rd phase, where Hydra is red. The Hydra will wall you off with fire in a small area and begin shooting fire behind you. To avoid this, you need to be moving or you will be hit by fire, dealing an additional 10 to 20 damage and hitting you 5 times in a row for 5 damage each on top of the initial damage. This is the most punishing special attack to get hit by. The fight has a pretty simple rundown. There are 3 different colored chemicals spouting out of the boss's arena. Hydra needs to be lured onto a specific color each phase, except the very last phase. If he is not lured, damage is reduced by 75%. The Hydra will roar, as well as give you a chat confirmation, which will confirm you have correctly lured him. For the first green phase, you will lure Hydra onto the southeastern red tile. After bringing his health down below 825, or 75%, he will lose a head and turn blue. During this phase, he will need to be lured onto the northeastern green pool. Luring Hydra onto a pool early will increase his max hit each time it spouts. This can reduce the time on the next phase he is in damage reduction mode, and is a good idea if you are confident you aren't going to miss any prayers later in the fight. If you are learning Hydra, I probably would avoid luring him early. Once he's below 550 health, or 50%, he will turn red and need to be lured onto the northwestern blue pool. After you have brought him below 275 health, or 25%, he will turn gray and not need to be lured again. The standard run is pretty simple but has a lot of steps. Hydra starts on phase 1 in green form. His first standard attacks are random, but his magic attack is slightly more dangerous than ranged, so start by praying Protect Magic and swapping accordingly. You run to the southeastern part of the room to lure him onto the red pool. This tile will always lure him after you've killed him, and he respawns, so you will want to stand on this tile after each kill, but you may not be far enough away if this is your first kill of the trip. You may need to move around to lure him adequately. After 3 attacks, he will shoot a blob of poison you need to avoid by walking a couple tiles away. The globules will remain on the floor after it has thrown them at you. If they are in your way, you can run over a single tile of poison if you start on the tile before and run to the tile after. After he enters the second phase and turns blue, we will lure Hydra onto the northeastern green pool by walking to this tile. As soon as he shoots electricity after his 3rd attack, wait until the nearest electricity forms, and then run to the western part of the room on this tile, luring him right next to the pool. If you start running too early, you will get hit by the lightning. After you're more confident with the fight, you can learn Lightning Skip. This wastes a lot less damage running and gets you closer to the next pool earlier. Work your way down to this tile and wait for the lightning attack to approach you. When there is a 1 tile gap between you and the lightning that's approaching, walk diagonally 1 tile and then back 1 tile. This traps the lightning underneath you and completely avoids it. Just keep in mind, if you do this, the lightning does not despawn while it is stuck underneath you until the next phase starts. So if you want to move from this tile, make sure you run a good distance away or you're going to get hit by it. After we damage him enough to go to the 3rd red phase, we run to this tile to lure him into the blue pool. After 3 attacks, Hydra will begin walking to the middle of the room, by which point we need to be standing on this tile. If you take too long to get here, Hydra will stun you before you can get to the tile, and can mess up your fire skip. Hydra will spit 2 walls of fire east and south of you, and begin spitting fire under you. Simply run to this lower tile as soon as you see his head move. This trick is as easy as it looks. You have several ticks to perform it. If you mess it up and you get hit, just turn off your run and walk around the room until it stops following you. I would recommend saving your blowpipe specs for this phase or the last phase, as these are the most dangerous parts of the fight. The specs do 50% more damage and can help you speed up the hard phases. If he stuns you off the tile for the fire skip, you can just spam click to get onto the right tile as soon as he moves his head, and then click to the fire skip tile. That'll also skip it. After this, Hydra will enter his 4th and final phase where he turns gray. People call this the Jad phase, but I don't really consider this an accurate description. With Jad, you have to react to his attacks, but with this phase, you're just alternating prayers each attack, making it really easy. The first attack he will use during this phase is the opposite of the last attack you just received during the fire phase, so simply change prayers when this phase starts and get ready to alternate. Should you miss a prayer during this phase, Hydra's max hit is raised from the normal 2 hits with a max of 17 each to 1 massive hit with a max of 52. This phase can quickly KO you if you aren't paying attention. After 3 attacks, Hydra will shoot a poison blob at you like in the first phase, so make sure you avoid this. Keep in mind he can fire a second poison blob if it takes you another 9 attacks, so if you get unlucky with DPS, you will need to avoid the poison again. Continue until you have defeated the Hydra, and repeat. Hydra takes about 20 seconds to respawn. You can leave and re-enter from the rock outside to respawn him a bit more quickly, but I really don't bother doing this as it doesn't save much time, and it despawns any items you left on the ground. After the trip is completed, I fill my inventory with bones. I don't bother banking the bones as they are worth under 5k, and it takes a long time to get back here. And then I teleport to Mount Carullum using my Rados Blessing. Make sure you bring a teleport if you don't have this, as you cannot leave through the door if Hydra is alive. Once I'm at the mountain, I simply teleport to Clan Wars using the minigame teleport. A trip lasts long enough that this should always be off cooldown. Tile indicators are incredibly useful for this fight. You can add all the indicators from outside the boss room, making it very easy to set up. I'll have the code to import my tile indicators in the description. Just copy the codes to your clipboard and right-click the world map and hit import to grab all of my tiles. Keep in mind if you die, you can reclaim your items from the blue guy outside of Hydra's boss room. But if you don't have the diary completed, don't forget to bring new boots of stone. If you die a second time, everything will be lost permanently. An average Hydra kill is about 2 minutes, with about 20 seconds for him to respawn. If we include the time to bank, 30 to 40 minutes after the first kill, this puts the kills an hour with max gear and blowpipe at 24 to 25. This equates to over 4 mil in total loot an hour on average. Quite a bit of this coming from the rare Hydra Claw drop that is used to create that Dragon Hunter Lance, valued at 50 mil. The Twisted Bow is a bit more DPS, so you can expect an extra kill or 2 if you are using one. There is a decent amount of supply cost. You will use roughly 500k in supplies an hour, a lot less with Twisted Bow, depending on the supply drops you receive. Expect to make around 3.5 mil GP an hour with that factored in, increasing to 4 mil GP an hour with the T-Bow. The wiki has a great calculator depending on your kills an hour, if you have worse gear or aren't perfectly experienced with all of his attacks and are making some mistakes. Keep in mind you will receive on average 3 to 4 brimstone keys a task, which is left out of the wiki's calculation, increasing GP an hour by about 50k. The boss also provides some fairly good XP rates, around 30k Slayer XP an hour and 130k ranged XP an hour. This is surprisingly one of the best boss tasks for Slayer XP in the game. I've often been asked how many points you need if you want to do Hydra from 95 to 99, so I calculated it. You will need 3,230 kills to hit 99 from 95 flat. It would take an average of 21 tasks to get this much kills. With the highest weight Konar task blocked and skipping every other task, it takes an average of 570 points in skips to get 21 Hydra tasks. Obviously that has a lot of variation, so around 1,000 points should near guarantee you can skip all tasks and do only Hydra to 99. If you were a madman and wanted to use a slaughter bracelet switch every kill, it would require only an average of 16 tasks to hit the prior KC and 450 points in skips. This is a pretty good option if you want the pet anyways, as Hydra is incredibly good money and can only be done on task anyways. Turiel canceling for Hydra tasks is also not a terrible option if you really wanted to do only Hydra. And that does it for the video. Leave a like if you liked it and or subscribe. Thanks guys.